Wednesday, no, actually, Maharaj, we have today and tomorrow. Friday is the exam.
Huh?
Friday is the exam.
Friday is the exam.
Yeah.
So just tonight and tomorrow.
Yes.
You have to finish everything. Oh no. Oh my God.
Should
Oh,
we
can do it all right?
do you think one more class will be useful? Okay, then we can shift
Let's
the
see how
exam.
it goes.
Okay, then we can move the exam to Sunday.
We're going to have the exam in the evening.
Yes, same time.
Hare Krishna, Abhijit Prabhu, you there?
Hare Krishna Sudama Prabhu, I made you the host.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Okay, we are ready. We just you can set up the translations.
Okay. Start already.
Hare Krishna.
You did.
Oh, that thing on the, have we got it on here? Interpreter, yeah, it's here.
Interpretation, yes, yes. If you click on that.
Why was it not there last night?
Not sure. English. Yes, nice. We are all set now.
Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavari Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we welcome everyone to our ongoing study of the Nectar of Instruction for the Bhakti Shastri course. Just to review a little what we've been covering. The first verse was dealing with the urges, the 6 urges which have to be controlled. And when these 6 urges are not controlled, then they lead into the 6 items which cause a deterioration in our devotional service, mentioned in text number 2, how we can go down in our practice of Krishna consciousness. Then text number 3 described positive aspects of devotional service, qualities which we should be cultivating and which we should be developing in our Krishna consciousness. When text number 4 was describing about association, loving exchanges with devotees, and we spoke about different things, about giving prasadam and revealing our mind and offering gifts and accepting gifts. And then we spoke, text 5 was describing how to distinguish between different devotees so that we can make these exchanges more meaningful. Proper devotees should be selected to reveal our minds and to inquire and to give service to. So it was described about recognizing someone just began to chant the holy name and how we respect them in the mind. And someone else is chanting constantly. They're on the second level, intermediate level. Am I muted?
No.
Okay.
No,
So
Maharaj.
on second level, someone's worshiping the deity, is initiated. We offer obeisances to him, and we associate with and serve a devotee who doesn't criticize others. So we spoke about qualities of Uttama Adhikari. We spoke about qualities of the Madhyama Adhikari, seeing the different levels. Madhyama Adhikari, he will see the Supreme Lord and offer worship to the Lord. He will associate friendly with devotees, keep friendly relationships with the devotees. He will give mercy and show compassion to the ignorant who are willing to hear about Krishna consciousness, and he will neglect and avoid people who are atheistic or who are blasphemous and who have no interest in Krishna consciousness. We said Uttama Adhikari is always thinking how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. He constantly chants the holy name and he doesn't criticize others, right? He sees everyone as being engaged in Krishna's service in different ways. Then we went on, text number 6, we heard about how the Ganges water may appear to be full of bubbles, foam and mud. So sometimes people may look at the external features of a devotee, but as devotees, we should not give attention to the external features. We should consider the internal features, internal aspects, that someone's making an effort to cultivate Krishna consciousness, is sincerely hearing about Krishna and chanting the holy name, following the regulative principles. Like that, we don't discriminate someone on the basis of his body being of a low birth, diseased or deformed or handicapped in any way externally. So that's text number 6. And then text number 7, we were speaking about the chanting of the holy name and developing a taste for the holy name. And the example was given how a person with the disease of jaundice cannot taste the full sweetness of sugar candy. In the same way, a neophyte, someone may be chanting, he doesn't have a taste for the holy name because he has jaundice of avidya. He has a jaundice-like condition. He's very attached to material life, to material sense gratification. His heart is very polluted. So they can also become purified by chanting the holy name of the Lord. That was text number 7, right? We will ask you, what are the 3 stages in chanting the holy name? Someone can give us the answer? We will ask Purna Krishna Maharaji.
Haribol, Maharaj, you can hear me?
Yes.
Pranam.
Yes, Haribo.
The three stage of
Chanting the holy name.
offense.
Yeah, you should know without
The second
looking at
one
the
is
book.
nama bas.
Huh?
I'm not looking at the book, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, then look at me. Look in the camera. Let me see. Yes, Nama
My
Parat.
camera is a little bit up. Nama parat is when we chant with offense.
Yes, and then second one.
And Nama Bas, we chant without offense.
No, we chant with lessening offenses, reducing the offenses.
Okay, okay, yes, Maharaj. And the third one is Sudanam,
Meaning?
chanting with the taste of love.
Chanting the pure name. Shuddhanam means the pure name, right?
Yes, yes, Guru Maharaj.
So there's offensive chanting, there's lessening of offenses, and there's pure chanting. So 3 stages in chanting of the holy name. And
Yes.
we spoke about the problem, why people don't have a taste for chanting the holy name. What is the problem?
Because chanting with many desires, not for serving
Yes.
of the holy name.
Right, yes. So in other words, they have many anarthas. Anarthas, unwanted things in the heart. Like you say, that some material desires are there, and also offenses to the holy name, and imperfect, improper knowledge, not proper knowledge of Krishna consciousness, different things. Weakness of the heart also is mentioned as one of the anarthas. Weakness of the heart means we don't take Krishna consciousness very seriously. And the main cause in offensive chanting, one of the main problems with offensive chanting is inattention. And we spoke about different kinds of inattention. One was apathy, meaning they couldn't care, they don't worry, they don't think it's very important. And then another problem is laziness. People just don't want to do it. They're lazy. And then distraction. We let other things occupy our mind, take away our mind. So this is the cause of inattentive chanting. And inattentive chanting means we don't get the real love for Krishna. We want to get love for Krishna, right? That's the important thing. All right. So looking at the questions here, we want to see at what stage can Maya not disturb a devotee? Advaita Chandra Prabhu, at what stage will Maya not disturb a devotee?
At Bhava stage, Maharaj.
At the stage of Bhava, right. Very good. Yes, if we get up to the Bhava stage, then we're pretty safe. Although sometimes, even at the stage of Bhava, devotee may have problems. Like in Srimad Bhagavatam, we read about Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj was up to the stage of Bhava, but still he got problems. But generally speaking, if we're at the stage of Bhava, we won't have problems. So that's how it's described like that. Right? And what is the meaning of this word? Dur Ashraya? We will ask Giridhari Prabhu, do you know what the word Dur Ashraya means? Right, yes, right. It's describing the material world. That the material world is not giving us any real shelter. So we don't want to try to find permanent home here in this material world. We're concerned to go back home, back to Godhead. Right? So everyone knows the meaning of this phrase, Jivarswarupahaya Nitya Krishna Das. We will ask Premadan Prabhu, Nitya Sira Krishna Prem.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Jivera Surup Hoy Krishna Renitadas means that the real constitutional position of the Jiva is the eternal servant of Lord Sri Krishna.
Yes, right. We're all eternal servants of Krishna. But we come in the material world and we're thinking we're the master. We're thinking we're the controller.
Yes,
So, all right. So you seem to be okay. You seem to be quite familiar with these things. So we're going to go on to text number 8. I'll just switch over to screen sharing. My battery is low. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I got my connection. So thank you for noticing. Get my charger.
It's not showing charging now.
Oh, is it plugged on?
It is plugged, it is on, but it's not showing charging, or it is showing. It is not showing charging, that is what I mean. Maybe that socket is.
Why not?
I can switch the socket.
Put it in this one.
No, it's still not showing charging.
Maybe I put it in there. Let's see. Does it make a difference? Both of them should charge, right?
They should not charge now. I don't know why it's not charging. And it's actually, it went down from 10 to 9%.
Yeah. Why it's not charging?
Now it's charging.
What happened?
I unplugged that.
You turned it around the other way?
No, yes, I turned it around, but it shouldn't make a difference.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I want to work with the verse tonight. We'll look at the text. Okay, text number 6, text 7. Text 7 was talking about the jaundice of material life. And we go on to text number 8 and hear about the holy name. Tannama rupa charitadi sukirtanano smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyojya tishtan braje tadanuragi jananugami kalam nayad akilam iti upadesha saram. Upadesha saram, this last term at the end of the verse number 8, often quoted, the essence of all advice, right? Upadesha Saram. We're studying Upadeshamrita. Rupa Goswami is talking here about Upadesha Saram. And he says here, the essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Braja, Goloka, Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So that's the translation for the verse. The essence of all advice. And you can see Rupa Goswami is talking about a higher stage of devotion. He's talking about, he's telling us that, we have to 24 hours a day chant and remember Krishna. So this is an advanced level of devotional service. And he talks also, one should reside in Braja, Goloka Vrindavan Dham. Now, Goloka means the spiritual world, right? Of course, that's the goal. We want to go to the spiritual world. And so Rupa Goswami is telling us, he's preparing us, he's telling us what is the qualification to enter into the spiritual world. So Prabhupada's purport begins, he's talking about the mind, and he says, the mind may be one's enemy, one's friend. One has to train the mind to become his friend. Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for training the mind, to be always engaged in Krishna's business. The mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions, not only of this life, but also of many, many lives of the past. These impressions sometimes come in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. In this way, the mind's functions can become dangerous for a conditioned soul. Students of psychology are aware of the mind's various psychological changes. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam chajite anti kalevaram tam tam ivaiti konteya sadatat bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. And so Prabhupada is telling us about the mind, how it's very important for us. Remember in the very beginning, in the preface, when we were studying the preface of this book, Prabhupada described the first business in all spiritual activities. Does someone remember? You can remember what was the first business in all activities? Any hands up? Yes? Oh, a lot of hands, eh? Okay. We'll ask Ananda Radhika Mataji.
Controlling the mind and senses, Maharaj.
Yes, thank you. To control the mind and senses. That's the first business. So Prabhupada talks, we have to make friends with the mind, train the mind to be always engaged in Krishna's business. How can we do that? Simply by being in our Krishna consciousness movement and taking part in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Our mind will naturally train and it will learn to think of Krishna. You just have to stay in the association of the devotees, be around the temple and take part in the temple program, take part in the Sankirtan, book distribution and serving the deities and all these different things. And this way, naturally, we'll always be thinking of Krishna. So it becomes very natural and easy for a devotee in Krishna consciousness, right? Going ahead. At the time of death, the mind and intelligence of a living entity create the subtle form of a certain type of body for the next life. If the mind suddenly thinks of something not very congenial, one has to take a corresponding birth in the next life. Right? We have the example. I just spoke about Bharat Maharaj, how he had to take birth as a deer because he thought of a deer at the time of death. On the other hand, if one can think of Krishna at the time of death, he can be transferred to the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. This process of transmigration is very subtle. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami advises devotees to train their minds in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. You know, there was one devotee, his parents didn't like him becoming a devotee. He was a young boy, quite young man, a youth at the time, about 17 or 18. So his parents were quite well-to-do, and they didn't like their son becoming a devotee. So they had the boy kidnapped. And the kidnappers, they gave him some drug to make him lose all of his memory. And he lost all of his memory. He couldn't remember anything. All he could remember was Krishna and Hare Krishna mantra. He couldn't remember anything else except Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying like that here also. He said, Rupa Goswami advises devotees to train their minds in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. So that boy, he did that. He couldn't remember anything. He forgot his parents, he forgot his home, his name, all he could remember was Krishna. So that's the goal. Similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak only of Krishna and to taste only Krishna prasadam. So we had that in the beginning. Rupa Goswami further advises, Tishtan Braje, one should live in Vrindavan or any part of Brajabhumi. Brajabhumi, or the land of Vrindavan, is supposed to be 84 kroshas in area. 1 krosha equals 2 square miles. When one makes Vrindavan his residence, he should take shelter of an advanced devotee there. In this way, one should always think of Krishna and his pastimes. This is further elucidated by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we can see here, Prabhupada is also encouraging the devotees that if you feel inclined that way, you can also go and live in Vrindavan and serve Krishna there. And certainly there's a lot of advanced devotees. It is said, you do devotional service in Vrindavan, you get 1,000 times the benefit of doing service any other place. But it's also said, if you commit offense in Vrindavan, you get 1,000 times the reaction. So it's very dangerous. You have to be very qualified to go and live in Vrindavan. It's not for neophytes. So we don't do anything without having guidance from the senior devotees, without having the sanction of our spiritual master and the blessings of the senior Vaishnavas. We wouldn't want to do anything like that. We have to be very qualified to go and live in Vrindavan. So this is further elucidated by Rupa Goswami. Krishnam smaran janmachasya preshtam nija samihitam tat kataratas chasyo kuryad vasam braje sada. A devotee should always reside in the transcendental realm of Braja and always engage in Krishnam smaran janmachasya preshtam, the remembrance of Sri Krishna and his beloved associates. By following in the footsteps of such associates and by entering under their eternal guidance, one can acquire an intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so Rupa Goswami has given this kind of instruction that we should always reside in Braja. And Prabhupada taught us like that. He said, I'm always in Vrindavan because I'm always remembering Krishna. And similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling Advaita Acharya, I want to go to Vrindavan. But Advaita Acharya told him, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, of course. So wherever he is, that is Vrindavan. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So a devotee wants to always reside in Vrindavan, at least within the mind, if not physically. And remember Krishna and his associates. Then following in the footsteps, under their guidance, then we develop a desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So developing this desire, Rupa Goswami states, and we get another verse, in the transcendental realm of Braja, one should serve the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna with a feeling similar to that of his associates. One should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and follow in his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the stage of sadhana, spiritual practices executed while in the stage of bondage, and in the stage of sadhya, God realization, when one is a siddha purush, or a spiritually perfect soul. So Srila Prabhupada is quoting these verses by Rupa Goswami, describing how one can execute this kind of advanced devotional service, what we would call raga bhakti, right? We should serve the Supreme Lord Krishna with a feeling similar to his associates. That means following in the footsteps of his associates, devotees, associates like Nanda Maharaj and Uddhava, the cowherd boys or the gopis. And one should place himself under the guidance of an associate of Krishna and follow in his footsteps. One should be attracted by a particular associate of Krishna. Like somebody's attracted to Mother Yashoda, someone else is attracted to Nanda Maharaj, or someone's attracted to follow the cowherd boys like Sridham or Subal or Sudama, or the gopis. So many gopis. We have Lalita, Vishaka, Indulekha, Rangadevi, Sudevi. These are all gopis. You can be attracted and take up the mood of one of these particular associates and follow in their footsteps. So then Rupa Goswami mentions the two stages, sadhana, which we're doing. We're all sadhakas, practicing, but we're still in the stage of bondage. We're not yet perfect. We're still in the stage of bondage under the control of maybe some bondage to the modes of nature. But there's also the stage of sadhya. So in both stages, one would practice in a similar way. We see the example of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, how they were practicing, how they were doing sadhana. Externally, they were doing sadhana, but internally, they're perfect. They're sadhyas. Internally, they're in their spiritual bodies, and they're serving Krishna in their spiritual bodies. But externally, they're doing sadhana, and they're serving Krishna in with their physical body. So both ways, like Rupa Goswami, we said he's Rupa Manjari. So he's serving Krishna internally as Rupa Manjari, and externally, he's a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's serving Krishna doing his sadhana, chanting and doing parikrama and worshipping the deity, Rupa Goswami's deity, Radha Govinda. like that. And then writing books also. So this is an advanced level of devotional service, which is being described here. Rupa Goswami's began at the beginning. You know, we say, you want to follow this? You don't just immediately go to Vrindavan. First, you practice from the beginning. Text 1, control the urges. If we have not controlled the urges, then we have no right to go off to Vrindavan and try to do this kind of advanced devotion, taking shelter of the holy name and just talking about Krishna. We're not qualified. So because people try prematurely for these things, they often get problems, they get disasters. One has to be very careful. So Prabhupada then goes on quoting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Someone would like to read? Can we have somebody to read, please?
Yes.
Who is going to read? Priya Govinda Prabhu.
Yes, Maharaj. Shri
So
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, quality, pastimes, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and qualities under the direction and protections of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of our instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service.
Thank
In the
you.
neophyte stage.
No, wait. Okay. Thank you. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is describing here. In the beginning, neophyte, not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness, right? But somehow he practices, and if he is able to train his mind, and if he's able to develop a taste for such things, then he can think about trying to live in Vrindavan. But he has to first of all practice and develop a taste for the holy name and for remembering Krishna's pastimes, form, qualities. Then he can think about going to Vrindavan. But when you go to Vrindavan, under the guidance and protection, direction of an expert devotee, we don't go independently. And we have to have developed the taste. Remember the different stages of devotion? Prabhu, who was reading, what was his name? No, who just read just now?
Yes,
Anyway,
Maharaj.
what were do you know the different 8 stages of devotion or 9 stages of devotion which we have to go through to cultivate bhava and prema?
No, Maharaj.
No? Priya Govinda Prabhu? Devotional service, the path of devotion begins with?
He said he was not just there. He said he didn't know, but we have many hands.
All right, okay, we will ask Ananta Vijay Das.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandawat Pranam. So, the state is from Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha, Anartha Nivriti, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, and Nistha, and Rati,
Ruchi.
Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prema.
Yes, right. Very good. Yes.
Yes.
So, can you give the English meanings?
Yes, Shraddha, we have to prepare our faith when we come for Sadhu Sangha. Then in that Sadhu Sangha, we do bhajana kriya, bhajan, with the association for the devotee, advanced devotee. And from that association, we will get, we will come to the stage of anartha nivriti, then abandoning all the material desires. Then after anartha nivriti, we come to the stage of nistha, which is we are free already from the material desires. And from nistha, we come up to the stage of ruchi, when we get the taste from the chanting of holy name, Hare Krishna. Then from that state, ruchi, we come to the asakti, when we have attachment for the holy name. Attachment when we want to chant always the holy name of Krishna. And from that state, we come up to the state of bhava. And bhava is after bhava, prema, the last one.
All right. And at what stage does one get initiation?
He will get the initiation from the stage of nistha, Maharaj.
No.
No.
From initiation, diksha. What stage do you get diksha?
Diksha from the Shraddha.
No. Shraddha is the beginning, right? Shraddha brings us to the association of devotees. Then we associate with devotees and we learn how to do devotional service, bhajana kriya. So bhajana kriya, when we're doing the bhajana kriya, that's when we get the diksha.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Right? We get initiation at the stage of bhajana kriya. And then with bhajana, we're doing bhajana kriya, and we will get rid of the anarthas, as you said, anartha nivriti, destroying the unwanted things in the heart.
Yes.
The offenses and the fault-finding tendency to find fault and the material attachments and desire. Get rid of all these things, and then we come to the stage of nishtha, right? So if one wants to go into this kind of devotion which is being described here, which is actually raga bhakti or spontaneous devotion, one should be at least at the stage of nishtha. He must be very steady in his Krishna consciousness. He must have completed anartha nivriti. And that's the most difficult stage. That's the biggest part of our devotional service, to get through anartha nivriti. It's not an easy thing. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of intense practice and very strong sadhana to come through anartha nivriti and come to the stage of nishtha, to be steady. Right? All right, we need someone else to read. Who can read? Okay, Ram Sharma, is it? Ramesh Sharma can read.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasa, the stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities and pastime, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varanadasa. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smaranavastha. The, the stage of remembering, recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later, remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. When meditation expands and become constant, it is called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi or spiritual trance. After smarana dasa or samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. This is called Sampati Dasa, the perfection of life.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
All right, so Srila Prabhupada is describing the progressive stages of Krishna consciousness. First of all, neophyte stage, we engage in hearing Krishna Katha. Right? We want to hear regularly, every day, just like in our Krishna conscious program, every morning, every evening, Krishna Katha. Actually, when I joined the Krishna consciousness movement, we would have 4 or 5 classes every day. We would study, we hardly had any books in those days. We had the Krishna book, volume 1 only, and we had the Ishopanishad, we had Nectar of Devotion, and we had Prabhupada's own Bhagavatams printed in India. And we had the abridged Bhagavad Gita. And so we would read these books every day, we would have classes, and we would discuss. We didn't know very much at all, but we were happy to be hearing about Krishna. So this is the stage of hearing. So Prabhupada says, by constantly hearing the holy name of Krishna and hearing his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, then one attains to the stage of acceptance called Varanadasha. And when one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. We want to develop that kind of attachment. Just like we said, we've got to become attached to Krishna. So being attached to hearing Krishna Katha is non-different from being attached to Krishna. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of smaranavastha, the stage of remembering, chanting in ecstasy. So we need to have kirtan, dancing, chanting. And then Prabhupada goes on to describe different stages of progressive Krishna Smarana. Krishna Smarana, remembering Krishna. It's very similar to the stages which are described in Astanga Yoga. In the Astanga Yoga, they also have different stages of meditation ending in Samadhi, right? You have, after pranayama, then pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Like that, pratyahara is detachment, and then dharana, absorption, dhyana, the meditation, and samadhi, trance. And so Prabhupada is describing here 5 items of Krishna Smarana. At first, remembrance of Krishna will be interrupted at intervals. Difficult to fix the mind wanders, so there'll be intervals where the mind wanders away. But later, remembrance becomes uninterrupted. We have to practice. Just like when we're chanting, we have to practice remembering Krishna. When the mind wanders, bring it back. We have to constantly bring the mind back. And when remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. And when meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. And by uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters samadhi, spiritual trance. So this is very advanced meditation. So that's smarana das, or samadhi, has fully developed. The soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. We understand our spiritual identity. He can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. And this is called Sampati Das, the perfection of life. So very, very advanced stages. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, they could meditate like this. They knew their spiritual identity and they could meditate on Krishna's pastimes. All right, we'll go ahead. Someone else can read. Kirti Mataji would like to read, please.
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Chaitanya Charitamrita advises those who are neophytes to give up all kinds of motivated desires and simply engage in the regulative devotional service of the Lord according to the directions of Scripture. In this way, a neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name, fame, form, qualities, and so forth. When one has developed such attachment, he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna even without following the regulative principles. This stage is called Raga Bhakti, or devotional service in spontaneous love. At that stage, the devotee can follow in the footsteps of one of the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. This is called Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service, can be executed in the Santaras when one aspires to be like Krishna's cows, or the stick or flute in the hand of Krishna, or the flowers around the Krishna's neck. In the Dasya Ras, one follows in the footsteps of servants like Chitraka, Patraka, or Raktaka. In the friendly Sakya Rasa, one can become a friend like Baldeva, Sridham, or Sudama. In the Vatsalya Ras, characterized by parental affection, one can become like Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. And in the Madhurya Ras, characterized by conjugal love, one can become like Srimati Radharani or her lady friends such as Lalita and her serving maids, Manjaris like Rupa and Rati. This is the essence of all instructions in the matter of devotional service. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mariji. All right. So, Chaitanya Charitamrita advice, those who are neophytes, give up all kinds of desires and simply engage in regulative devotional service according to directions of scriptures. Right? This is called Vaidhi Bhakti. You follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures. In the Nectar of Devotion, it is described how devotional service is on 3 different levels: devotional service in practice, devotional service in ecstasy, and devotional service in love of God. The devotional service in practice is divided into 2 sections. One is called Vaidhi Bhakti, and the other is called Raga Bhakti. So in the beginning, we follow the rules and regulations. We have to know the rules and regulations. We have to follow them. Just like it's mentioned, Prabhupada mentioned 2 phases in devotional service, right? It was mentioned, there was a question even. What are the 2 aspects of Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat? Who was the lady who read? What was her name?
Hare
Kirti?
Krishna Maharaj.
Kirti
Yes.
Mataji? Do you know what are the 2 aspects of Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat?
Yeah, there are 2 aspects, yam and niyama.
Yes. What is yama?
Yama means who are rejecting the principles of the spiritual scriptures, and niyama means regulating and following the rules and regulations of scriptures
So
for the
what,
advancement of Krishna consciousness.
what is the yama? What do we have to do? What do we have to reject?
Which are not favorable for the advancement of Krishna consciousness, like if we are associating with material people, Jana Sangha, so we have to sacrifice, or sorry, not sacrifice, but we have to do tyaga of that Sangha tyag.
I don't think you've got it quite right. I think the yama Prabhupada mentions are the prohibitions. Prohibitions mean no meat, fish, and eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. That is the yama,
Okay, sorry.
right? The 4
Yes.
prohibitions, things that is the yama. We don't do these things, right?
Right.
We
Thank
want
you,
to
Prabhupada.
practice Tat Tat Karma Pravartana. That means the regulative principles of devotional service. You're right about the niyam. The niyam is what? Chanting, worshipping the deity, offering food to Krishna, taking prasadam, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy name. That's good, that's niyam. But the yama, the things we give up, no meat, fish, and eggs, no intoxication, like that.
Yeah, 4 regulative principles.
Yes,
Yes.
right.
Okay.
Right. If we
Thank
do
you.
if we do all the chanting and everything, but we don't follow the 4 principles, then it won't be good. We won't get the good result. Okay, so in the beginning, we follow the rules and regulations. This way, a neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name, its form, qualities, right? Within the holy name of Krishna also includes Krishna's form, qualities, his fame, pastimes. Everything is in the name. Within the name, there is Rup and Guna and Lila. So when we develop such attachment, when we become really attached to the holy name of Krishna, in other words, we've really purified the heart, we've got through anartha-nivritti, we've come to the stage of nishta, then we can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna, even without following the regulative principles. Now, don't misunderstand this. Don't think that means that, oh, we can do what we want, we can have, we could take drugs, we could have illicit sex, we can gamble, we can eat anything. No, it doesn't mean that at all. But it means one is so devoted to Krishna that one may not follow strictly all the things like, bowing down before the deities and going to the Mongol Arti. He may not engage in all the different items of bhakti, but he doesn't deliberately break the regulative principles. Regulative principles, they're not talking about our 4 regulative principles, but they're talking about the regulative principles of bhakti, which means worshipping the deity and offering foodstuffs and studying the scriptures, those kind of principles. So he's engaged in serving Krishna in different ways. So this stage is called Raga Bhakti, or devotional service in spontaneous love. So this is an advanced stage. At this stage, the devotee follows in the footsteps of one of the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. This is called Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service, can be executed in Shantaras. Shantaras means a stage of neutrality, right? There are 5 rasas. So Shantaras is the stage of neutrality. And Prabhupada gives us some examples how we can serve Krishna in Shantaras. You can be a cow, one of Krishna's cows. You may say, oh, I don't want to be a cow, no. You may want to be a stick in Krishna's hands, or a flute. Just think, if you're a flute in Krishna's hands, you can taste the nectar of Krishna's lips all the time. Krishna blowing the flute, you can be tasting the nectar from Krishna's lips. So some people really, you know, they really, that idea of being a flute in the hands of Krishna, Krishna is so attached to his flute. And sometimes the gopis, they will even steal the flute from Krishna, because Krishna is so attached to that flute. Sometimes the gopis will take it and hide it. And Krishna will become anxious. What have you done? Where's my flute? Or may want to be a flower around Krishna's neck. The flowers in the spiritual world are all eternal. They don't wilt, they don't wither and dry up like the flowers here. Flowers in the spiritual world are all very beautiful, and they have beautiful aroma, very beautiful fragrance. So that's Shantaras, right? And then Dasharas follow in the footsteps of servants. Krishna has servants. In Vrindavan, these are Krishna's servants in Vrindavan. Their names are mentioned. Chitrak, Patrak, Raktak. They're all Krishna's servants in Vrindavan. Krishna has different servants in Dwarka. Do you know who's Krishna's servant in Dwarka? Anybody know? Anandini Radhika Mataji?
Dwarka Maharaj?
Daruka, yes. Right, Daruka is Krishna's chariot driver, right? So he's Krishna's servant there in Dwarka. Good. Ramesh Sharma?
I'm sorry, Maharaj, my hand was raised before.
Okay. Okay, anyway, like that. Anyway, in the purport here, Prabhupada quotes Krishna's servants in Vrindavan. That's Dasharas. Generally, the Vaikuntha Vasis, the people in the Vaikuntha, they're all in Dasharas, the servants of Krishna. Hanuman, of course, is a great servant of Lord Ramachandra. And then friendly, Sakyaras. And Prabhupada gives the names of some of the cowherd boys. Baladev, Sridham, Sudama. There are many cowherd boys. And so they're all the friends of Krishna. Arjuna is also a friend of Krishna. But Arjuna is not really a cowherd. He's not in the Vrindavan Leela. Here we're speaking about Vrindavan, right? The meditation is on Vrindavan and the devotees in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada is restricting himself to just Vrindavan. But these rasas are also sometimes seen outside. Just like Uddhava is also a friend of Krishna, but he's not quite equal to Krishna. He doesn't have the same, he doesn't think of himself as being equal to Krishna. He will sit on a different level from Krishna. But Krishna is very intimate with Uddhava. And then Vatsalya Ras, parental affection. And we have in Vrindavan, of course, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. And in Mathura and Dwarka, you have Vasudeva and Devaki, parental affection. We also see Putana. Putana, although she's a demon, Krishna took her to the spiritual world to be his nurse, which was also like Vatsalya Ras in the spiritual world. And then Madhurya Ras, conjugal love. And Prabhupada gives examples, Srimati Radharani and her lady friends, Lalita, very dear friend of Radharani. We have Lalita and Vishaka, the gopis, and then serving maids, manjaris, like Rupa and Rati Manjari. So this is the essence of instruction in the matter of devotional service. Remember, Upadesha Saram, the essence of all advice, all instruction. So, Prabhupada's a little cautious about this, about devotees taking up this kind of mood, going to Vrindavan and trying to cultivate Raganuga Bhakti. Because Krishna consciousness is a preaching movement. We're meant for preaching. We're an international preaching society. And if everybody would simply go down to Vrindavan and sit down in Vrindavan and do this kind of meditation, then I don't know what would happen. It could be a problem. There have also been instances, even in Srila Prabhupada's time, there was a thing called the Gopi Bhava Club. And Srila Prabhupada did not appreciate it. And Prabhupada was very upset, and he severely chastised the people who took part in the Gopi Bhava Club. They were meeting together privately to read sections from the scriptures about the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis. And Prabhupada did not like it. He said, this is not our Krishna conscious program. They said, Prabhupada, it's your books. He said, yes, but why you're making it private? Why you're restricting people? Why only certain people? He said, why can't you sit and read? And actually everybody, except for one devotee, everyone who took part in that Gopi Bhav Club, they all left Krishna consciousness, they gave up Krishna consciousness. So one has to be very cautious about trying to enter into this mood of Gopi Bhava. Are there any questions from anyone about this? Yes, Advaita Chandra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I am still confused about the words Raga Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. So in Raga Bhakti, I find word devotional service and spontaneous. And also in Raganuga Bhakti, I found also the word spontaneous and devotional service. Can Maharaj explain more about the difference between these Raga Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti? Thank you, Maharaj.
I'm not aware that there is a difference between Raga Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Raga Bhakti is performing devotional service with Raga. With Raga means intense attachment, right? Intense attachment to the service of Krishna, to devotional service. And Raganuga Bhakti is specifically referring to that we will follow in the footsteps of some great devotees who are eternal associates of Lord Krishna. And we gave the example. One may be following the mood of Srimati Radharani or Mother Yashoda or a cowherd boy or a servant of Krishna. And Prabhupada gives examples in each of the 5 rasas, how we can desire to serve Krishna in a particular way. So we can think, maybe your meditation is to become a flute in the hands of Krishna. So we can meditate on all the pastimes of Krishna, how Krishna plays his flute, and how all the trees are happy to see the flute, the bamboo flute in the hands of Krishna. The bamboos feel so pleased to see that their son has become a flute in the hands of Krishna, and how Krishna plays the flute and he will call the gopis, and how he will call the cows. So one will meditate on all of these different things and it will absorb his mind. You may want to be a cowherd boy. So Raganuga Bhakti, you will meditate about Krishna with the cowherd boys, how they wake up every morning and the cowherd boys will go out with Krishna into the forests of Vrindavan with the cows, with the calves, and how they will play games in the forest, and the cowherd boys will, play so many different activities with each other. Sometimes they take the food, they take the lunch box of one cowherd boy and they pass it to another, and they hide it, they won't give him his lunch. They play these kind of games. Sometimes they imitate the animals in the forest. And they will remember also Lord Krishna, how Lord Krishna is killing the different demons. And so they would sit and take their lunch together, and they would see Krishna take the food, and sometimes even they will rest together, and they may be able to give Krishna massage, or Krishna may massage them. Like this is the meditation according to the particular mood of the devotee. That a devotee is aspiring a particular position in relationship with Krishna. Someone's aspiring to be a cowherd boy, someone's aspiring to be a gopi, or someone's aspiring to be a parent, to give that parental affection for Krishna. So that is Raganuga Bhakti. Raga Bhakti is that very intense, spontaneous attachment to the service of Krishna. Is it clear?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, Maharaj, there is on the chat.
Yes?
You can take some question from the chat.
Yeah?
There's one question from
Haribol. Hare Krishna.
Sees Krishna in all.
Okay, there's a question in the chat here. We want to just go over this question in the chat. Why, I don't have a chat here. Okay, I got it now. I got it. Yes, okay. The question in the chat says, Uttama Adhikari sees Krishna in all, then why is he eager to spread Krishna consciousness? How to understand weakness of heart? Two questions. Uttama Adhikari sees Krishna in all. Yes, he sees Krishna in everyone, but he sees they're all serving Krishna in their own particular ways. So he's anxious to spread Krishna consciousness, to get people to chant the holy name, to give them Krishna consciousness. He sees Krishna working through everyone. Everyone's working through the different modes of nature, which is under the control of Krishna. But the Uttama Adhikari wants to see them also take up devotional service. He doesn't want to see them just only working under Krishna's control through the material energy. He wants to elevate them to a higher consciousness and to give them the holy name. Therefore, he thinks how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. All right? Let me see. Okay, there's quite a few questions here. Okay. To be attracted, another question, this is from Radhika Kishori Devidasi. To be attracted to a particular associate at this neophyte stage may be my material concoction. Maharaj answered.
She's saying that when she asked the question, immediately after that you were speaking and you actually answered her question. So she said, I have already answered. But there is another question before that, asking how to understand weakness of heart.
All right, how to understand the weakness of heart. Yes, we forgot that. Okay, how to understand the weakness of heart. The weakness of heart refers to our own inability to have the determination to fully practice and to fully absorb ourselves in the process of devotional service. That we tend to become, we don't make a great effort. We don't really intensely desire to become Krishna conscious. The weakness of heart, that we're still thinking of affection for, we're thinking about family members, we're thinking about loving relationships, we're thinking about material situations. We're not just thinking about Krishna. We haven't fully surrendered ourselves to Krishna. So this is the weakness of heart. Material identification with the material world. And then this question by Kishori, Radha Kishori, I'm not following. To be attracted to a particular associate. Oh, it's already answered?
The next one is by Manoj Padilla. The problem is if we take rag path, just that we look more advanced, then it's artificial. I'm not sure what this question is not clear.
Oh. So if we take raga path, just that we look more advanced, then it is artificial. Certainly, if you take the raga path just to look advanced, then it is certainly artificial. And you won't maintain it for very long. You'll simply bring disrepute to the path of raga. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they preach very strongly about the problems here that people without proper qualification try to take up this path of Raganuga Bhakti or this Raga Bhakti. They're not qualified. They do it. They want to, look advanced. They want to look spiritual. They want to pretend or to fool themselves that they're actually advanced. Then yes, it is artificial. And it brings a bad name to these people, to other people. Just like we see at Radhakund, Srila Prabhupada was very concerned that he didn't want devotees to go to Radhakund because he knew the influence of many of the Babajis there is really not good. That although they're there in Radhakund and they may dress like Babajis in the mood of Rupa Goswami, in the mood of Raghunath Das Goswami, but they still have a lot of material attachments and sometimes they're even engaged in sinful activities. So Prabhupada was very cautious. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur were also concerned about this. It said when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati went there to Radhakund, he spoke about the Ishopanishads. And when the Babajis, they came, when they heard him speak about the Ishopanishads, they all left because they wanted to hear about Gopi Baba. They wanted to hear Gopi Leela. But he didn't want to satisfy their senses. Therefore, he spoke from the Upanishads. So it was understood Radhakund is a place of neophyte devotees, not very advanced devotees. because they're artificial. They're not really pure in heart. They haven't really come to that advanced position. Another question from Sadananda Ramachandra Prabhu. Wouldn't any familiar bond be considered Vatsalya Ras as in the case of Balaram, as he was protective of Krishna as well? Wouldn't any familiar bond be considered Vatsalya Ras? Well, that is the nature of Lord Balaram, very special case that Lord Balaram would serve Krishna in different rasas. Sometimes Lord Balaram would be the elder brother, sometimes he would be like a father, and sometimes he would be like a younger brother. And sometimes they would be equal. Lord Balaram also serves Krishna even in Madhurya Rasa, in his other form as Ananga Manjari. So Lord Balaram serves Krishna in all the different rasas. He has that, he's a very special devotee. Well, he's the Supreme Lord, but he comes also as in the mood of a devotee. He's also serving Krishna. He likes to be servant of Krishna, takes pleasure in serving Krishna, and sometimes Krishna will serve him because Balaram's the elder brother, right? Dauji Kanaya, Krishna Kabaya. Balaram is Dauji, he's the older brother. And so you could say older brother is Vatsalya Ras, but sometimes also it's Sakya Ras. It varies. Balaram's mood changes. Going ahead, this question is from Bhavagrahi Nanda Nandana Das. If our Siddha Swarup is already there in Goloka, then we have our own rasa there. In that case, why do we need to aspire separately now, Maharaj? Yes, our rasa is there in Goloka, but we have to prepare ourselves for going to Goloka. It's not that we can immediately go there to Goloka and enter into our rasa. We have to prepare ourselves to enter into that particular position. And Jiva Goswami mentions, he said, usually a devotee will not immediately go back to Godhead, but after they give up the body, they will take birth in some other place where Lord Krishna is appearing, where he's performing his pastimes, and they will take part in Krishna's pastimes there. And they'll get further training before they go back to Godhead. Because in order to go back to Godhead, we have to be fully purified, fully prepared. And we need that training, that preparation to go back. Even though you say it's our rasa, but we've been here in this material world a long time. We've become very covered over. We've forgotten everything. We have to revive it. And so, with the help of the super soul in the heart, and with pure, intense practice of devotional service, some rare soul may be inclined to a particular mood of bhakti. And they take up some cultivation of that particular mood in relation to serving Krishna. And they go on and develop that. And their aspiration can be satisfied. Krishna sees, just like Krishna saw Putana come with her poisoned breast. She wants to be Krishna's mother. Krishna took her back to Godhead. Krishna saw, who was it? He had 2 extra arms. Pundraka. He put on 2 extra arms to have a 4-arm form. And he came asking Krishna for the Sudarshan Chakra. So Krishna took him back to Godhead. And he gave him a four-arm form in Vaikuntha because he wanted to have that form. Krishna thought he wants to be a devotee. Take him there and let him have a four-arm form. And Krishna took also Aghasura. Aghasura also went back to Godhead because Krishna entered into his mouth and Krishna purified him. So even these demons, they could get a particular place in the spiritual world as servants. So we don't know what our rasa is, but some people, they have a strong inclination, they have a strong attraction towards a particular rasa, and they like to cultivate it. So they can do it. At the same time, they can carry on their devotional service. It's not that they have to give up doing service. People who are doing this kind of bhakti, they can also continue to do Vaidhi bhakti. They can continue to follow all the regulative principles, hearing and chanting, doing everything like other devotees, but internally, they may cultivate that particular mood. And they're very attached to hearing particular pastimes of the Lord. All right, going on. Another question from Sadananda Ramachandra Das. Please correct me if I'm wrong in my understanding. Oh.
Maharaj, that was attached with the previous message. I think someone else messaged in between. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So then from Priya Govinda, Prabhu, why did the residents of Vrindavan experience spontaneous devotional service, Raganuga Bhakti, yet they were worshippers of demigods, especially Indra, who gave them rain? Well, Krishna didn't approve of them worshipping demigods, and that's why you have the Govardhan Leela. So Krishna, when Krishna appeared, he was not happy to see the residents of Vrindavan worshipping other demigods like Indra. And Krishna stopped that. And Srila Prabhupada told us, he said initially in Vrindavan, there were only Krishna temples in Vrindavan. There were no other temples. He said it's only recently that these other temples, different gods have come up. But really Vrindavan is meant for cultivating the mood of pure devotion. And particularly when Krishna came with his eternal associates, like Nanda Maharaj and so many others, they're all his eternal associates. Krishna didn't want to see them worshipping demigods. And he wanted to see them just cultivating pure devotion. Therefore, he had them worship Govardhan Hill and the Brahmanas and the cows. No need to worship Indra. So Krishna corrected this situation. All right. And then one more. Shankara Das. Okay. Talking to you, okay. You're using the chat to communicate, huh? Okay. Gita Indulekha Mataji has a hand.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, is there some relation in these two, like this Adar Shraddha Tatha, that 8 stages that we talked of, and then this like Shravan Das, Varan Das, and Smaranavastha. So is there any correlation, or we can like correlate these two? That is also stages, these are also stages.
These are stages of remembering Krishna. No, I'm not very clear about your question. Could you tell me again?
My question is that we are talking about these stages also, and that other Shraddha Tatha, that stages also, the 8 stages. So what is the correlation and how can we connect them, both of them?
Oh, okay. Yes. So Prabhupada is described to us here about this stage of meditating and remembering Krishna. So this will come in the stage of, will begin from the bhajana kriya, right? But to actually, if we look back, how do I get rid of this thing? Do I just press this red one?
Yeah.
Oh, I've lost the whole thing now.
That is the top one is still there, but it's not showing on Zoom.
Where's my book?
Your book is if you do tab. No, not from there, not from there. If you do Alt tab, Command tab.
Where? What did you press? Command?
Tab. If you do Command tab, this one.
Oh.
Then it shows all the windows open, and you can cycle. You can say tab, and it cycles through all of them.
Thank you. All right, let's look at this. Mataji wants to understand how these different stages of meditation relate to the process of devotional service. So Prabhupada begins, he says, neophyte stage, one should always be engaged in hearing Krishna Katha. So hearing, this is called Shravana Das. And this will certainly be bhajana kriya, right? Part of bhajana kriya. It will depend a lot on the particular devotee. This is a particular stage, concentration on the process of hearing and remembering Krishna, his transcendental form, that from constantly remembering the holy name and hearing his form, one can come to the stage of Varanadas. Comes to that stage, he becomes attached to the hearing and able to chant in ecstasy. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, this becomes like a symptom of bhava. He attains the stage of smarana vasta, the stage of remembering. So we can see different levels here in the process of, in the practice of remembering Krishna. You come to the stage of smarana vasta, constant remembrance, and coming up to the stage of trance, samadhi. When meditation expands, becomes constant, it's called anusmriti. Uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti enters the stage of samadhi, and smaranadas samadhi, one will understand his original constitutional position. So, we can see that there's a quite different from the stages of bhakti which were described when we mentioned the 9 different stages of bhakti, coming up to bhava and then prema. Right here, Prabhupada is quoted, this is called sampati das, the perfection of life. So, the perfection of life, understanding our eternal relationship with Krishna. It is different from the practice, the other stages where we learn about coming to the stage of bhava and prema. Prema, developing love of God. And then at the stage of love of God, one will also know his rasa with Krishna, one also know his eternal relationship with Krishna. We would expect so, generally. But it appears to be quite a different process from what we are calling the stages of bhakti. It's like different lines, 2 different lines. In the next paragraph, Prabhupada goes on to talk about giving up all kinds of motivated desires and simply engaging in regular devotional service. So he brings it back to, you know, Vaidhi Bhakti, according to the rules and regulations. But then from Vaidhi Bhakti, then you come to the Raganuga Bhakti. And the mood of spontaneous devotion, which is particularly related to Krishna in Vrindavan. There's no Raganuga Bhakti in Vaikuntha. It's the nature of Goloka, that if you want to go to Goloka, you have to practice Raganuga Bhakti. Those devotees who aspire to enter into Vrindavan, into Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna is the cowherd boy, then you have to cultivate this Raganuga Bhakti. There's no Raganuga Bhakti in Vaikuntha. It's different. Vaikuntha is more the mood of Vaidhi Bhakti. So, how to understand these different levels of remembering Krishna, cultivating remembrance of Krishna? Just simply, we have to understand that there are these different levels. There are these different levels of concentration of the mind on Krishna. And that one can come up to that kind of stage. Constant remembrance. Of course, our process is through chanting the holy name. By chanting the holy name, we develop remembrance of Krishna. So Prabhupada, I don't really see any connection between the two, between these two different stages. It's not mentioned that there's a particular relationship between these two lines, between these two processes. We could even think maybe it's a separate path, a separate process which is being described. How you can understand your particular rasa, come to know your particular rasa. But we're following our own founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and he gave us the instructions, how we should chant, what we should do. Now he's put this section here in the purport. It may be coming from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Is it? Yes. You see, earlier it was mentioned, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had commented as follows on this verse. This may also be part of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's commentary. So I'm not really able to answer your question about this. It may be simply some different process which is being described. What we do need to know, we need to know that there is such a process as Raganuga Bhakti, and it involves following the residents of Vrindavan, that one should be aspired to follow a particular resident of Vrindavan. And we're given examples in each of the rasas. So one should be, now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, generally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, they were all in the mood of the gopis. They cultivated the mood of the gopis. They considered the gopis to have the highest love for Krishna. But it's also possible that you can be attracted to some other personality there in Vrindavan and cultivate their mood. It would not be in conjugal love, but it also can be there in Goloka. You can be a flute, you can be a flower in Krishna's garland, you can be a cow, you can be a servant. Very special, but in that mode of spontaneous love, intense greed, to have that love for Krishna. All right? So you can see, if we look at the questions on text number 7, we're on text number 8, right? What is the essence of all advice? What is the essence of all advice? How do you answer that? Who? Archana Bhakti Radha Mataji, the essence of all advice is?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Pranam. The essence of all advice is to remember Krishna 24 hours by chanting his holy name and remembering him. Remembering his name, his form, his qualities and pastimes.
All right, thank you very much. Very good.
Thank you so much.
And we gave the examples of each perfect devotee in Shanta, Dashya, and Sakyaras. Santaras, Dashyaras, and Sakyaras, right? They're all perfect devotees in Vrindavan, in Krishna's Vrindavan Leela. Okay, so we still have some time left. Let's go ahead into text number 9, which is describing something about the hierarchy in the spiritual world. Would someone like to read text number 9 for me? Who? Gita Indulekha Mataji, would like to read?
वैकुण्ठाच्चरितो जनितो वर मधुपुरी तत्रापि रासोत्सवात् वृन्दारण्यमुदारपाणिरमणा तत्रापि गोवर्धनः राधाकुण्डम् अपि गोकुलपते प्रेमामृत आप्लवनात् कुर्यादस्य विराजतो गिरितटे सेवां विवेकी न कः. Shall I read the translation also?
Please.
The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathurapuri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan, because of Krishna's Ras Leela's pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prem of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill?
Okay, so you can see the progression in places here. Rupa Goswami is describing like a hierarchy. He says, Mathura is superior to Vaikuntha. Now, Vaikuntha is a spiritual world, but Mathura is superior because Mathura is the place where Lord Krishna took his birth, Mathura Puri. And superior to Mathura is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan, where Krishna performed Rasa Leela pastimes. And then above the rasa place where Krishna performed Rasa Leela, above that is the Govardhan Hill, because Krishna held up the Govardhan Hill to have his association with all the devotees for 7 days and nights. It's a very special pastime, was raised by the hand of Sri Krishna. But even higher than Govardhan Hill is the Radha Kund. It stands supreme because it's full with the ambrosio nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. So who would not like to, who is unwilling to serve this Radha Kund, situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? Okay, someone like to read more?
There were many volunteers.
Hmm?
There were many volunteers. I see Roshan Pradhan.
Who?
Roshan Pradhan.
Roshan Pradhan Prabhu?
Good Dandavat Pranam. Here I go. The spiritual world is 3/4 of the total creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is the most exalted region. The spiritual world is naturally superior to the material world. However, Mathura and the adjoining areas, although appearing in the material world, are considered superior to the spiritual world because the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself appeared at Mathura. The interior forests of Vrindavan are considered superior to Mathura because of the presence of the 12 forests Dwadasavana, such as Talavana, Madhuvana, and Bahulavana, which are famous for the various pastimes of the Lord. Thus, the interior Vrindavana forest is considered superior to Mathura, but superior to this forest is divine Govardhana hills, because Krishna lifted Govardhan hill like an umbrella, raising it with his lotus-like beautiful hand to protect his associate, the denizens of Raja, from the torrential rains sent by the angry Indra, king of the demigods. It is also at Govardhan Hill that Krishna tends the cows with his cowherd friend, and there also he had his rendezvous with his most beloved Sri Radha and engaged in loving pastime with her. Radha Kund at the foot of Govardhan Hill is superior to all because it is there that love of Krishna overflows. Advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radha Kund because this place is the site of many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani. Rati Vilasa.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So we're hearing about these different places. Spiritual world, first of all, is 3/4. The material world is only 1/4. The material world is a cloudy portion of the Mahatattva, right? The spiritual world is all situated in the brilliant effulgence of the Brahmajyoti. So the spiritual world is certainly superior to the material world. But Mathura, although it appears in the material world, is a very special place. Mathura is chosen by the Lord for the place of his appearance. We have the birthplace at Mathura of Lord Krishna. And we have also Krishna's pastimes in Mathura. Just like after Krishna had gone to Vrindavan, he stayed there for his childhood Leela, and then came back to Mathura at the invitation of Kamsa, that he was brought back with Balaram for the wrestling match. And then Krishna stayed in Mathura, released Vasudeva and Devaki from the prison. But then Mathura was attacked many times, and Jarasandha was coming, and then also Kalayavana was coming. And so Krishna decided in one night to move all the people from Mathura. He moved them to Dwarka. So you have Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka, Krishna's pastimes in Mathura, and Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. So it said Krishna's perfect in Dwarka, and he's more perfect in Mathura, and he's most perfect in Vrindavan. So Krishna took his birth in Mathura, and then after taking birth, we know Nanda Maharaj, or Vasudeva rather, brought Krishna over to the home of Nanda Maharaj in Gokul, or in Nandagram, and then they moved to Gokul. And Krishna has his Leela there in Vrindavan, and later on then he comes back for the wrestling match, and he kills Chanura and Mustika, these wrestlers. Then Kamsa's killed, and Vasudeva and Devaki are released, and then he puts Ugrasena back on the throne in Mathura. But Krishna didn't remain in Mathura, he moved everybody over to Dwarka for their safety. So Mathura is a very important place. It's a place of Lord Krishna's pastime, superior to the spiritual world. But then even better than Mathura, even more superior to Mathura, are the forests of Vrindavan. And we know Krishna is performing his Leela there, very special Leelas, the Leelas of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like Rasa Leela, it's very special Leela, which is, only for very special the gopis. Only the Brijbasi gopis can enter into the Rasa Leela. Even we know the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, was unable to see Rasa Leela. And Lord Shiva, he was able to come in one time. He gets the position, Gopishwara. Lord Shiva was given position Gopishwara, that he should take care of the gopis. And so the forests of Vrindavan, very important. Krishna killed many demons. Kamsa's different demons were killed there in the forests of Vrindavan. And they're very special places. Lord Krishna had the Brahma Vimohan Leela there in the forest of Vrindavan. So very nice place, Vrindavan forest, the 12 forests of Vrindavan. But even more superior to the forests of Vrindavan is the Govardhan Hill, because Krishna, the Govardhan Hill is described Haridasavarya, the best of all the devotees of Lord Hari. There are many Haridasis, but Govardhan Hill is Haridasavarya, the best of all the devotees of Lord Krishna, because he gave shelter to all the Brijbasi people from the wrath of Indra, to humble Indra, take away the pride of Indra. So Govardhan Hill is a very special, very dear place. Lord Krishna performed many pastimes there. Govardhan Hill does wonderful service, provides water for the cows, as well as for Krishna and the cowherd boys. And the Govardhan Hill is caves where Lord Krishna would enjoy, sometimes for shelter from the heat or from the rain, or just simply playing games with the cowherd boys or the gopis. And Govardhan Hill also provides fruits and flowers and vegetables and grass, so many things for the pleasure of the devotees. But even more important than Govardhan Hill is Radhakund, because it's in Radhakund that Lord Krishna and Radharani can enjoy their most intimate pastimes. right? Other pastimes, there's so many, like Rasa Leela. We know that sometimes Radharani will get angry at Rasa Leela because there's so many other gopis there with Krishna. She'll feel a little jealous that she has to share Krishna with so many other gopis. But at Radha Kund, it's very special, intimate Leela there, where only very few intimate associates are present. And it's there that Radharani and Krishna enjoy the greatest pleasure. They have the greatest feelings, the greatest ecstasy. Their happiness is greatest there. So of all the places, this Radha Kund is considered very special. And we know the Leela also that Krishna had killed a bull or killed a calf or bull, and Radharani wanted Krishna to purify himself. She said that Krishna should go and bathe in all the holy rivers. So Krishna said, I'll call them all here. So Krishna dug his heel in the ground, and one after another, all the different holy rivers came and poured water, and they created the Kund, Shama Kund. And then Krishna told Radharani that you should also purify yourself. And so Radharani was going to go to Manasaganga and bring water, and Krishna arranged to help her. And then this way they had the Radha Kund and the Shama Kund. And 500 years ago, it was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who personally came there and discovered the Radha Kund. The place had been lost. Nobody knew where it was. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came to Vrindavan, he found out where Radha Kund was, and he went into the middle of the rice field. It had become a rice field, and he began to take his bath there in the middle of the rice field. So that place, the land was purchased gradually, and they made a small kund, and then gradually they got some very big wealthy people to donate more to make a very beautiful kund, very nice bathing place. So the Radha Kund is very important for us as devotees. Other people, they go to Radha Kund because of Krishna, but for devotees in our sampradaya, the position of Radharani is topmost. We give the greatest respect to Srimati Radharani, and we always want to get the blessings of Srimati Radharani, because by her blessings, we can approach Krishna. If Radharani will introduce us, then certainly Krishna will accept us. So we have the greatest respect and reverence and worship of Srimati Radharani, and we go to Radha Kund because of Radharani, not just simply because of Krishna, but because Radharani is the symbol of pure devotional service to Krishna, and we want to get that love for Krishna. So it's very, very important, special place. All right, so we just have a few minutes left. I don't know if is there any more questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Is there any explanation why Jagannath Puri Dham is not mentioned in this hierarchy of holy Dham? And as we know that Jagannath Puri is the place of inspiration with Vipralamba Setra, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also spent his time there 18 years with the mood of aspiration, which is, we know that the aspiration is the highest mood. So is there any explanation why not in this hierarchy, Maharaj? Hare Krishna.
Well, because it's not in Vrindavan. You're going to another kshetra, right? It's not Vrindavan. But this is, we're discussing the pastimes, and we don't hear about Lord Krishna personally going there to Jagannath Puri. The meditation is on Lord Krishna, Krishna's pastimes. So we didn't talk about Dwarka. We didn't bring in Dwarka. Lord Krishna had gone to Dwarka. Lord Krishna had also gone to Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is also very important, but we're particularly talking about Vrindavan and the places, you know, those places connected with Vrindavan in Mathura district.
Okay, Maharaj.
Many holy places. We could speak at Kurukshetra. Radha, Krishna had gone there. They met there at Kurukshetra, very special place. And Dwarka also, Krishna lived there many years. Hastinapur, Krishna also had a lot of pastimes there. But we're talking about Vrindavan. The mood is Vrindavan.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Archana Bhakti Radha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, this is related to the previous chapter 8, text 8, sorry. We were talking about Siddha Swarupa. If all of us have a Siddha Swarupa in the spiritual world, then what about the impersonalists who desire, to merge with the Supreme Lord? Matlab, if they also have a Siddha Swarupa, then their desire is just contrary to what the Siddha Swarupa is. How to understand that, Maharaj?
Yes, we have to save them from that impersonal suicide. This is like spiritual suicide, impersonalism. So just like people have a material body and sometimes they commit suicide, we try to save them, we try to prevent people from committing suicide. So the same is there with people practicing spiritual life. They want to do, they actually commit suicide spiritually by desiring to merge and to enter into the oneness or to give up their individuality. So we have to, we're trying to save them by preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadesat. All right, preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya to save people from these kind of things, from impersonalism and voidism. Because that is, this is spiritual suicide.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Huh? Yes, Gita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Dhanvat Maharaj. Maharaj, I wanted to ask from text 7 question. There is a question, at what stage can Maya not disturb a devotee? Then we said it's Bhav stage. And the reason is given because the devotee can see the real position of Maya. So that at Bhav stage, the devotee can see the real position of Maya, and we also see the position of Maya. So what is the real position? And the position we are seeing.
What is the real position of Maya?
And they have given the reason for this Bhav stage because the devotee can see the real position of Maya.
She's saying we can also see the real position of Maya and a devotee on how we can also see the real so then what is the difference?
We can also see the position of Maya.
And a devotee on how also can see the position about seeing the position of Maya at the state of how.
Well, it doesn't have to be anything different. It can be simply the same thing. You're on the stage of Bhava. You can see the material energy under the full control of the Lord. For the conditioned soul, it's different. But as devotees, you're also on the level of bhava. Sometimes, you also have a lot of ecstasy in your devotional service. You're coming to that level. There's a lot of bhava there in the practice of Krishna consciousness. Where was it actually mentioned there? Text number 7?
Yes, Maharaj. In the question, the answer of this question number 27, and in the answer it's given.
Oh, is it one of the questions, is it?
Yes, 27th question. The paragraph above that shlok, Krishna Surasa Maya hai Andhakar, it's the paragraph above that shlok.
What you saying?
Page 17, where it is said that although Maya is the devotee once he attains the half stage, this is because the devotee can see the real position of Maya. So that's the paragraph.
Okay, the devotee can see the real position of Maya. So, yeah, we see Maya. How do we see Maya? How does the devotee see Maya? We see Maya as Krishna's energy under his full control. Of course, there's Yoga Maya and Maha Maya. There's two faces of Maya. It's not all just simply the illusion of the material world. We understand the Maya working in both ways. How Maya covers up the devotee to reveal Krishna through one of the rasas, right? That's Yoga Maya. Nanda Maharaj sees Krishna as his son. That's Yoga Maya. Mother Yashoda sees Krishna as her child. That's Yoga Maya. Right? There's Yoga Maya, but there's Mahamaya. Mahamaya is the illusion that Krishna is an ordinary person. Krishna took birth. Krishna has a material body. That's Mahamaya. And so devotee understands the effects of Maya, how Maya is working. Vyasadeva sat down after taking instruction from Narada Muni. Vyasadeva sat down and meditated on the Supreme Lord, and he saw the Supreme Lord with the material energy under the full control. So that is the position of Maya. Maya Jakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. This material nature is under my direction, Lord Krishna says. And so the Maya of the material world, it's all under Krishna's control. A devotee sees this. The devotee sees the effects of Maya, how it's influencing people in different ways. It covers up the heart of the devotee so they can have loving relationship with Krishna. And it covers up the vision of the materialist so that they can have their sense covered and try to enjoy the material world. It's all due to Maya.
Yes, Maharaj.
Prabhupada writes, Maya means forgetfulness of Krishna. And forgetfulness of Krishna and Krishna consciousness stand side by side, light and shadow. So Prabhupada is referring particularly to the effects of Maya in the material world.
Yes.
Covering up Krishna, that he will appear like an ordinary person. So devotee understands how Maya is affecting people. People are thinking, I won't die, I will live forever, I will enjoy, I will be happy. People are thinking they can lord over the material world, they can enjoy sense gratification. This is their Maya. A devotee can see the illusion of the materialistic people. Right?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Dina Vatsal Prabhu has a question.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj dan Dawat Pranam. Pertanyaan Tiang ini ada di sloka 8. Bagaimana hendaknya seorang penyembah selalu tinggal di wilayah rohani bernama Braja atau di Brindawan, kan seperti itu, Bro. Nah, bagaimana ada syarat khusus untuk bisa tinggal di Brindawan, karena banyak para penyembah datang ke Brindawan untuk tinggal di sana untuk melakukan bhajannya. Bagaimana syarat khusus untuk tinggal di Brindawan, Bro?
So the question is there any special qualification to stay in Vrindavan?
Yes.
So yes, we mentioned that you should not be a neophyte devotee. You should be very fixed in Krishna consciousness. You should be mature. You should have come to the stage maybe even of nishta, steadiness. You've completed the anartha nivritti. You've got rid of all of the imperfections and impurities and aparads and anarthas from the heart. And you're very steady and fixed in Krishna conscious practice. You fully engage in devotional service. You're very regulated and humble, submissive. You chant very eagerly with enthusiasm, and you're very anxious to hear about Krishna. Then you can think about going to Vrindavan. Of course, you can only go there with the permission of your spiritual master and the blessings of the senior devotees. Independently, we shouldn't go off to Vrindavan. There must be the sanction of the superior spiritual authority, that he thinks it will be good. Maybe in old age, we're preparing to leave the body, then you can go to Vrindavan at that time. It's a good place to leave the body in the old age. If you sit down in Vrindavan, Prabhupada said, when you're young, you travel and preach. And when you're old, you can come to Vrindavan, sit down and read the books of the Goswamis. So that's when you can go to Vrindavan, at the end of life.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right, so we'll stop here tonight. We'll meet tomorrow. We'll try to finish up everything tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. If you have any questions, please prepare them. You can put them on the chat before the class, and we can have the questions ready. That will be good. All right, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. You got any message for the students?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so
Dandavat
much.
pranam.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha
Sarvesya
patitana pavanebhyo
Bhuteshabhyo
vaishnavebhyo namo
Vaishnavo
namaha.
Namo Namaha.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare
Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna is don't leave just yet. I have to make an announcement. Dear devotees, can you all hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So,
I think you're on mute now. Probably you should try to mute everyone else and then you can.
okay, 1 second. Okay. How about now? I'm not on mute anymore. Hare Krishna, can you all hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes,
Yes.
Prabhu.
So what I'm saying
But you should probably
is,
mute everyone else because there's a lot of background noise.
Hare Krishna. So we had already.
Okay, now we can't hear you again.
We had previously planned for the last class to be tomorrow and the exam to be on Friday. But there is a possibility that we may need one more class, so we may have another class on Friday. It depends how things go tomorrow. So I'm just giving you, I'm just letting you know in advance, it is possible that we may have to postpone the exam from Friday to Sunday. So just want everyone to have that idea. So as of now, we are planning for Friday. But if we may need another class on Friday, in that case, we'll do the exam on Sunday. Okay. So that was the announcement. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha